In this video, we will discuss about how to solve reading comprehension. I will give you certain practical steps that you will follow, and you will be easily able to solve at least 80% of comprehension easily. And if you will be able to solve 80% of comprehension easily, half work will be done, and you will easily clear the CSAT paper, which has become a formidable challenge in the last 2-3 years. So, with the help of last year questions, I will try to demonstrate it. Okay, so let's start. Now, the first tip is that before reading any passage, read the question first. So, I will first read the question. Question says, which one of the following statement best reflects the most rational, practical, and immediate action required to ensure fair and equitable allocation of water to different stakeholders? Okay. Now, the first option says a national pragmatic, legal, and policy framework for water allocation should be made. Okay. The second option says all river system of the country should be linked and huge aquifer created. Okay. Third is water channels between regions of water surplus and region of water deficit should be created. The last option says to mitigate water crisis, water demand of sectors such as agriculture and industry should be reduced. Now it says rational, practical, and immediate action. Okay. So can the availability or water demand of certain sector, can it be reduced immediately? Is it possible? No, it is not possible. So with the use of question itself, I will mark it as wrong. अब मेरे पास 3 options. I am left with 3 options. C is water channels between regions of water surplus and regions of water deficit should be created. Okay, can it be created immediately? It will also take 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, 6 years. And similarly, it goes with the huge aquifer or interlinking of river. It takes decades to create such plans. You must be reading about Ken Betwa. It takes decades to create such plans. A policy can be, however, immediately made. A policy, legal policy or framework for water allocation can be immediately made with the use of only question itself. Without reading passage, I was able to solve this question. Now for your understanding, I will read the passage also. We often hear about conflicts among different states in India over river waters. Of the 20 major river system, 14 are already water stressed. 75% of the population lives in water stressed regions, a third of whom live in water scarce areas. Climate change, the demands of rising population, and the need for agriculture to keep pace, and increased rate of urbanization and industrialization will exacerbate water stress. According to the Constitution of India, water is a state subject and not that of union. Except for regulation of interstate water, key to ensuring balance between competing demands of various stakeholders is a basic based approach to allocate water amongst constituent region and state. Now, all of these passages, it is also telling about only the problem. And if you are reading first passage, you will waste a lot of time because the question is talking about the solution. You already know what is the problem. You have a general study preparation and you've wasted around 1 minute first reading the passage. If you would have read the question itself, even if you have not eliminated, you would know that these are only the problems. I need to answer the solution. Where is solution here? Where is solution here? It's just talking about the problem. Okay. Now they say that allocating fair share of water to them require assessment based on objective criteria such as specificities of river basin, size of dependent population, existing water use and demand, efficiency of use, projected future use, etc. Now they are just telling you about the criteria, not the solution. So keep in mind, always while solving a passage, start with the question, read the options. 90% or 80% of the time you will be able to solve without reading the passage itself. I will demonstrate you more. Okay. Now see the second question. First I will read the question. Which one of the following statement best reflect what is implied by the passage? Okay. You will say, sir, without reading the passage, how one can answer the implied thing? Okay, just read. Option A, education system must be strengthened in rural areas. First, large scale and effective implementation of skill development program is the need of the hour. Okay. Option C is for economic development, health and nutrition of only skilled workers need special attention. Okay. For rapid economic growth as envisaged by us, attention should be paid to health and nutrition of the people. Now, education system must be strengthened in rural areas is a narrow statement, can be true. Okay. Second is large scale and effective implementation of skill development program is the need of the hour. It is also a narrow statement, can be correct. For economic development, health and nutrition of only skilled workers needs special attention. Does it seem right to you? Economic development के केवल health and nutrition of only skilled workers, not unskilled worker, need special attention. This will be 100% wrong. Okay, you eliminated one option. Now you are left with three option in which this is the broadest. The chance of this option being correct is huge. Okay, now just read the passage. More than half of Indian women and almost a quarter of Indian men of working age suffer from anemia. According to studies, they are anywhere from 5 to 15% less productive than they could be. As a result thereof, India also has the largest tuberculosis burden in the world, costing 170 million workdays to the country annually. But what is just as important as lost productivity now is lost potential in the future. It is becoming increasingly clear that on many measures of cognitive ability, malnourished Indian children perform 2 or 3 times worse than their adequately nourished peers. For an economy that will be more dependent on highly skilled workers, this poses a significant challenge, and it is one that really should be addressed given India's demographic outlook. Okay, now they are talking about the health condition, they are also talking about the productivity. Now let's see the options again. Education system must be strengthened in rural area. Are they really talking about education at all in the passage? No, they are not. Are they talking about skill development at all in the passage? No, they are not. They are talking about health and nutrition of the people and its effect on the economic growth. So this is the answer. It is as simple as that. Start with the question. When you first read the question, your mind is just trying to grab the answer out of the passage. It is not trying to just read it and gain random information, but a peculiar information that is asked in the question. And also to eliminate while you are reading the question using these logics. Okay. Now I will demonstrate to you another passage. Which one of the following statements best reflect the most logical and rational message conveyed by the author of the passage? Okay, the first option is adaptation to climate change and mitigation responses are basically the responsibilities of the government. This is so wrong. You know, anything, any policy, any initiative, anything which is concerning the society is not only the responsibility of the government. This cannot be right. Just eliminate it. Just cross it. Okay. The second option is climate change causes a change in government policies regarding land use pattern in the country. Okay, so this can be an answer, but is very very narrow. It cannot be a message of the passage that it's only talking about land use. Still, we will keep this on hold. Okay. The option C is risk perception of farmers are important for motivating them for taking adaptation decisions, can be right. Option D is since mitigation is not possible, government should come up with policies for quick response to climate change. Now this is absurd statement. Why mitigation is not possible? This is absurd statement. Okay, based on your general studies knowledge, just cross it. Now we are just left with option B or option C. Okay. Now read it. In India, majority of farmers are marginal and small, less educated, and possess low adaptive capabilities to climate change. Perhaps because of credit and other constraints, so one cannot expect autonomous adaptation to climate change. Even if it was possible, it would not be sufficient to offset losses from climate change. So they are talking about the conditions of farmer. Okay, to adapt to the climate change, how vulnerable they are. To deal with this, adaptation to climate change is paramount alongside a fast mitigation responses. Another solution is to have a planned or policy driven adaptation, which would require the government to come up with policy recommendations. Perception is a necessary prerequisite for adaptation. Whether farmers are adapting agriculture practices to climate change depends on whether they perceive it or not. However, this is not always enough for adaptation. It is important how a farmer perceive the risk associated with climate change. You must have read about the genetically modified crops and the perceived harm that GM crops sorry can have on the farmers. So it is talking about that there is need for adaptation, there is need for mitigation. However, one also needs to think about the issues that a farmer is facing. And then if we see the options, risk perception of farmers are important for motivating them for taking adaptation decision. This is what is given in the statement. See another passage. So first we will read the question. The approach will be consistent. The question says, which one of the following statements best implies the most rational assumption that can be made from the passage? The first option says, we are likely to spend more money on cure than prevention possible. It is job of the government to solve our environmental and public health problems. This is absurd. It is not only the responsibility of government. Just cross it. Second is, health can be protected even if environmental problems go on unattended. Again, apply your GS knowledge. Is it possible? Because of the environmental problems, the vulnerable section will become more vulnerable. They will not be able to have money. They will be affected by disaster. So many zoonotic diseases will spread. So this is also absurd. Loss of traditional lifestyle and the influence of Western values led to some unhealthy ways of living. Now, this is also a biased kind of statement, but we will keep this on hold. But there is a less chances of being it a correct option. Huge chances that option A will be correct. Now we will read the passage. Environmental problems cause health problems. Substantial changes in lifestyle can reduce environmental or health problems. Okay, but this idea appears almost impossible to adopt. With environmental problems, individual efforts can be perceived as having a negligible effect and therefore led to inertia. With health, on the other hand, individual choices can make the difference between life and death. Literally, and yet barring a few, there seems to be the same collective lethargy towards making their choices. See, now what is happening is, in this statement, they have talked about lifestyle, but this is not the central idea of the passage. Okay, because it is talking about the health effect of the environment change. Okay, there it is also talking about the lethargy that an individual faces to take a required action against the climate change. Okay, it is also talking about that. It is not talking about Western lifestyle and all. The statement is not talking about this. It is talking about lifestyle changes, but it is not talking about Western lifestyle. Anywhere it has not been mentioned. It is talking about a collective response. Okay. Now, the question is not talking about inference. It is talking about the assumption that the passage is making. Assumption is different from the message. Assumption is that something a writer has assumed before writing it. Okay. Now, this type of questions are hardest to solve if you have only read passage. But if you are going from the question itself, one can easily solve the question by eliminating the options. Okay, what is not talking about lifestyles and all. Okay, it can be one of the assumption, but the statement just said about lifestyle for the only one para, only one line. It's not talking about that in the rest of the lines. It is talking about individuals. Okay. Now, if these things will keep on going, then an individual will spend more money on cure than prevention. It's right, because if you are not taking care of environment, you will face diseases and you will go for cure. But if you will take care of environment, you will go for prevention rather than cure. So it is a kind of rational assumption that can be made out of this. Okay, but if you are starting from passage, you will not be able to solve this question. I'm damn sure about it. Okay, so out of these 4 passages, what is the learning? The learning is, start from reading the question, try to eliminate the options, do the reverse engineering, and then read the passage. Half work will become easier. You will be easily able to solve questions in less time. You will take around 30-35 minutes to solve 27 passages. and thus your marks will improve. So this is the learning that you have to assume while solving the that you have to adapt while solving the passages in the upcoming prelims examination. Take care. Best wishes.